Hey everyone, what's up and welcome back to a brand new video. And today we're going to be talking about the 2020 presidential election in the polls, what the polls look like here. So first I want to get some things out of the way. This is not my real prediction. I'm just analyzing what the polls are saying. And secondly, polls actually have been pretty accurate within recent memory. I mean, 2016 they were off by an average of 1 to 2%. So they're essentially within the margin of error pretty consistently. And also, polls don't only underestimate the Republican Party, they do tend to underestimate Democrats in Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, and Texas. In California as well, but that's not really an important state. So the polls have actually been accurate in 2016. They're accurate in every state except for Wisconsin and Iowa. In 2018, Florida was the state that the polls got pretty wrong. So taking that into account, let's get started. And we're first going to look at presidential polls. And I've already highlighted the states polled by today, actually. So I'm just going to add Biden-Harris. I'm going to add Trump-Pence. We've added Biden-Harris. We've added Trump-Pence. I just need to move this to the bottom, get that out of the way. Actually, let's do none. So yeah, and I'm just gonna. This is again my just my personal prediction for what's gonna happen outside of the polls. So we're just gonna essentially narrow this down to states that are polled, and we're not gonna get to 270 for either candidate. That is a major spoiler that I have for you guys. I think so, at least, unless my math is wrong. So yeah, we're not gonna get to that amount for either candidate. And we're just going to fill out all these states for each candidate. So yeah, so you've essentially narrowed it down to states that are polled. And a lot of these states are important because you obviously wouldn't be polling states that aren't very important. That would be a waste of your time. Whoops, I actually should add. All right, so we're just barely getting to 270. So Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Florida, and Texas and Maine are the swingier ones, as well as Georgia. But first, we're going to get Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana out of the way. Those are all solidly Republican states. So starting with Alabama, there was a poll that did come out. Okay, I should just go find that. Hopefully this... Okay, they didn't want to sort them in alphabetical order. Thanks, 538. But Alabama... put Trump ahead by 4, which is, I just want to talk about this for a second, because Trump he won in Alabama by over 20 points in 2016, so if he's only ahead by 4, that would be really weird. So according to this poll, Alabama would be a lean Republican state, although again, this poll is not, it's not horrible, but it's not great. This poll was also taken nearly a month ago, so that's not good. Also, only likely voters. So it's not a great poll. I would not take that into too much account. It's more of an outlier. But again, we're just going to look at the polls. In Mississippi, this poll was taken somewhat recently, not great. Same poll. They're putting Trump ahead by 10. So it's interesting. I do believe Alabama will vote to the right of Mississippi by a considerable amount. But according to this poll, I'm wrong. And then Louisiana, again, this southern poll, they're giving the Democrats, I think, they're being very generous towards the Democrats. I mean, Louisiana could be likely in a Biden best case scenario, but having him up by only 6, I think that's a very, very far off from reality, considering the fact that Hillary Clinton, she lost the state by over 25 points in 2016. So, yeah. And now we're going to get into our more important states, starting with the state of Maine. And Maine, 2nd District, Suffolk University, this is a very good poll. They pulled it twice. And I'm speaking with 2 different groups. They got the same result, which was Biden ahead by 1. So we're just going to fill that out. Also, I'm going to get this first district out of the way. That's going to be solidly Democratic. Biden's 22. So this is a rural district, went for Donald Trump narrowly by, not narrowly. He won it by 10 points. It's not narrow at all in 2016. But it had been a former Obama state previously. So that was a flip for him. And then at-large vote is going to be somewhere in between that. Just Maine at large, Biden ahead by 12s, so that would just make it barely likely. It could be safe, depending on what side of 12 you're on, but I'll just be generous towards Donald Trump and put it as a likely, which is my prediction for it. So I'm just gonna also use my brain a little bit for this video. And then the 2nd district, though, I do think that will narrowly go red. Obviously, not as big as 2016 in terms of the margin, but it will be. I do believe that Donald Trump will win it. So now we're gonna look at the poll. Next, from the state of Georgia, which Biden, 600 likely voters put Biden ahead by 3, which would be a lean margin, actually, which I don't think is going to happen. I think if Biden wins it, it'll be by less than 2. But according to this poll, Georgia would be a lean state, in Wisconsin. This is not a great poll. I mean, it's better than this poll, but again, this poll is putting Biden ahead by 3. In Wisconsin, I think this is a not a horrible poll, putting Biden ahead by 5, which is irrational. I could see Biden winning it by 5. I think he'll win it by a little less than that. And then Pennsylvania, Biden ahead by 3, which is, interesting because I do expect Pennsylvania to vote to the left of Wisconsin. So Biden's at 321 electoral votes now, and I already disagree with Georgia. So now we're going to look at whatever is next, which is the state of Texas. So Texas, this group, the Tyson group, seems to like to poll the South, and they are putting Joe Biden ahead by not I saw the 14 there and I was like, what? Not 1, but actually 4. So that would mean Texas would be a lean state, which I think is highly, highly unlikely. If he wins, it'll be by 1 point. Texas is certainly a red state, but they're saying like around 1,000, a little less than 1,000 likely voters, which is not a horrible poll. Again, I don't really trust this poll considering they're putting Biden up, or Biden only behind by 6 in a state like Louisiana that is solidly Republican. And then moving over to Florida, they actually have Texas voting to the left of Florida, which is interesting because that's never happened, or not. That's probably happened before, but that rarely ever happens, especially recently. And then another poll, or we're just going to average that out to a lean margin. So those are the results. So I just filled out the map according to what I thought would happen, and according to these polls, that's the map. So now we're going to do the same thing for Senate. I just got to add, so I should have done that. All right, we got to add that. And there we go. So I'm going to try to get through this as quickly as I can because I am kind of in a rush right now. But so again, we're just going to fill in these states according to who I think is going to win these races. And again, this is not a prediction because, as you can see, I disagreed. I criticized this poll for being inaccurate in a state like Texas and Georgia. So I'm just going to fill out what I think is going to happen. All right. Except for the polls, so why is it being like that? That doesn't make any sense. Okay, I don't know why it's being like that. I'll have to reload the page because that does not make any sense. So I'm just gonna leave the states that were polled blank. Whoops. And then we're gonna fill them out eventually when we get to it. So hopefully I can fill this out quickly. So they polled essentially southern states as well as North Carolina and Maine. So they also they didn't pull the Georgia Senate race. That was actually interesting, but so I Senate all because I'm not entirely sure which states they pulled. I'm just gonna have to sanity check myself. So they pulled Georgia, Mississippi, Texas. Okay, so I'm good in Alabama. That's good. I got that done. So, and now we're just going to finish filling out this map according to what I think will happen. And surprisingly, they didn't pull Iowa, which is more important than a lot of these states. But who am I to complain? I've never pulled a state before. So those are, and I don't know why they released this. 2018, they came out 2018 sampled, and they actually got that race right. So congrats to MWR Strategies for getting the Florida Senate race right. So the Republicans are at 46, the Democrats are at 49, and we're going to first analyze the state of, let's see what comes up first, actually. Maine. Sarah Gideon ahead by 7, ahead by 5, so that averages out to a likely, I should get that out of the way, averages out to a likely margin for her, and that is possible. I do think that Sarah Gideon could go into the likely column, but based on the data we're seeing other than this poll, I do predict that Maine will be lean for Sarah Gideon defeating Susan Collins. And then going over to the state of North Carolina, which is next, Cal Cunningham ahead by 6 again. Maybe in a best-case scenario, I could see Cunningham winning by a likely margin, but in a state like North Carolina, where they are no stranger to close elections, I predict he will win by a lean margin, but according to this poll, he's ahead by 6, which does fall in the likely category. And they're putting Kelly Loeffler, who I do not think will win re-election, actually, ahead by 4 points, which does fall into the lean column. And then I think the same is it the same poll? It is the same poll sampling. So the special election is putting Collins ahead by 5. So I don't know what to do with that. Either way, we'll just put it as leaning Republican. So I don't know what to say about that. And then I'm going to talk about Mississippi, where they had one poll where Highsmith was only ahead by 1. This is the same poll sampling for 2 different groups, she was ahead by 26 in the others. So the averages out, you essentially have to average that out. That would be safe, but that really does not make any sense. And then lastly, the state of Texas. The poll came out of Texas. There it is from the Tyson group that had Cornyn only ahead by 2. And remember, John Cornyn is much less unpopular than Ted Cruz was. So I do expect him to win by probably likely, if not a safe margin, in his re-election campaign. So according to the polls, we actually produced the same sentiment, but with very different margins. I think Texas will not be that close. But so. Just did a poll review. I haven't done one of these in a while, and I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video, guys.